The technology industry is currently paralyzed by what I can only characterize as a fundamental stagnation, a massive systemic bug that is actively masquerading as a breakthrough. What the market celebrates today as the explosive, unprecedented speed of AI-driven development is, when you look at the physical reality of software engineering, the mass production of digital garbage. We are witnessing the reckless externalization of risk and survival costs to the future. What we are doing with generative AI encoding perfectly mirrors the catastrophic flaws of a linear economy. We are producing cheap, seemingly rapid outputs while willfully ignoring the environmental, structural, and technical debt that inevitably follows. We are essentially operating on a complete illusion of velocity.
I have to stop you right there because you are entirely dismissing the profound democratization of technology that we are witnessing in real time. Artificial intelligence is allowing amateurs, domain experts, and visionaries alike to build functional software applications in just 3 days. We are breaking down the historical barriers to entry where only elite engineers, people who spent years memorizing complex syntax, could actually participate in the digital economy. This is a massive acceleration of human innovation. It allows market forces to test ideas at an unprecedented scale and speed.
That 3-day AI application is merely a Ferrari with its exterior finished in 3 days. It looks stunning in promotional photographs, the user interface might be incredibly sleek, but the interior is reinforced with cardboard. The engine might turn over, but the moment you try to scale it, the moment that application exceeds 40 kilometers per hour in a real-world production environment, it will disintegrate midair. We must differentiate between sustainable, circular development, where the structural integrity and the long-term maintenance costs of a system are rigorously accounted for, and our current operating system of rapid accumulation. What we have right now is not democratization. It is the mass distribution of logical voids.
Framing it as a logical void ignores how software is actually built today. Automating the coding process, which realistically constitutes the first 10 to maybe 20% of software development, is a necessary civilizational evolution. It is not a void, it is a catalyst. You are focusing purely on the immediate bugs and the structural imperfections of early-stage generative models. But the democratization of technology, empowering a nurse with an idea for a healthcare application to generate a functional code base without knowing React or Python, that far outweighs the temporary friction of debugging. Iterative prompting and the brutal efficiency of market forces will inevitably smooth out these structural errors over time. By lowering the floor for creation, we are fundamentally raising the ceiling for global technological output.
Let us unpack that temporary friction, because the premise that artificial intelligence functions as a highly capable, intent-driven pen is fundamentally flawed. It is not a pen. Right now, it is functioning as a high-speed excretion machine. The current system is distributing time bombs into the foundational layer of our digital infrastructure. When a human writes code, they hold a mental model of the entire system's architecture. AI lacks any physical synchronization with causality or intent. By relying on it to generate massive blocks of code to achieve this illusion of speed, we are skipping the physical verification required to ground software in reality. We are pushing an insurmountable cognitive debt onto the human developers who must eventually maintain these systems and pay those survival costs.
Let's look at the undeniable efficiency of the output itself, though. An artificial intelligence model, take GitHub Copilot or some of the newer autonomous agents, can generate a complex function, a database schema, or even a complete module in a single second. Even if that output requires human oversight and code review, the mathematical reality of producing thousands of lines of code instantaneously cannot be dismissed as an illusion. We are compressing weeks of manual typing, API research, and basic syntactical structuring into a fraction of a moment. The velocity is very real, and the market is already capitalizing on the surplus time that this efficiency creates for engineering teams.
That 1 second of AI generation often costs a senior engineer 3 hours of physical gruel and debugging to find a single logical flaw. The speed at the generation phase is entirely fake because the pain is simply externalized to the human reviewer at the maintenance phase. It is exactly like running a passenger train at 300 kilometers per hour, where the brakes only work based on probability, and ordering the people standing on the tracks to dodge it themselves. The AI shortened the initial typing time, yes, but that time was not saved. It was maliciously converted into the cognitive strain of human debugging. It is an irresponsible optimization.
I understand the concern about code review, but I remember the first time I used a large language model to write a Python data scraping script. It felt like absolute magic. I had a working prototype in 5 minutes that would have taken me an hour to write from scratch. Now, yes, 3 days later, when I tried to scale it to handle asynchronous requests, the architecture started to show its cracks. I had to go in and refactor. But the crucial point is that I got to that scaling phase incredibly fast. AI is taking over the dirty work. It handles the rote, repetitive boilerplate coding that used to drain human energy. By offloading these low-level tasks, we are actually freeing up high-tier human intellect. Software engineers are no longer forced to act as glorified typists. They're elevated to the role of architects. They can focus on high-level system design, user experience, and strategic implementation, while the AI functions as a tireless subordinate, handling the granular execution.
High-level cognitive resources are not being freed up to do architecture. Instead, our most senior engineers are currently being reverse-funneled into cleaning up the AI's plausible lies and hallucinated dependencies. When a large language model confidently imports an outdated package or writes a loop that looks perfectly functional but subtly leaks memory, it takes a human expert to catch it. This is a civilizational absurdity in terms of resource allocation. It is the exact equivalent of forcing a world-class surgeon to exclusively clean up the filth scattered across an operating room by a cheap, erratic robot. You are taking your most valuable, highly trained intellectual assets and chaining them to the bottom of the value chain to act as janitors for machine output. It is like making an elite Formula One racer walk the track to pick up the trash left behind an automatic vacuum cleaner. We are seeing the depletion of human intellect and developer sanity, not its elevation.
You are portraying the human developer as a passive victim of AI errors. The developer has agency in this workflow. When an artificial intelligence model makes a mistake or hallucinates a dependency that does not exist in the current software registry, the user does not have to manually rewrite the entire architecture from scratch. They can simply prompt the AI to fix that specific error. The process is highly conversational and iterative. If line 42 throws a compiler exception, you copy the error log, feed it back into the model, and it corrects its own logic. This localized fixing creates a very rapid dynamic feedback loop that eventually arrives at a stable, functioning application. It is a new way of working, certainly, but it is highly effective.
Effective at what cost? You are assigning intentionality to a system that possesses absolutely none. An artificial intelligence fundamentally only choosing the next most probable string of text based on statistical weights. It has no understanding of intent. It does not possess a holistic mental model of a complex microservices architecture. Describing the act of debugging an AI's intentionless code through more prompts is like dissecting randomly spliced animal corpses and trying to force the heart to beat by shouting at it. When you ask the AI to fix one specific error on line 42, it does not understand how that fix impacts the global state of the application. It hallucinates new contexts, it rewrites perfectly working dependencies, and it plants latent security bugs elsewhere in the system.
Those localized fixes do result in successful compilations, though. We see this happening every single day in development environments globally. Code is being pushed, applications are being deployed, and value is being generated. You cannot argue with a passing build in a continuous integration pipeline.
Getting code to pass a compiler is not the same thing as logical coherence, and it certainly does not equal maintainability. Passing a build is a very low bar. Relying on conversational prompting to fix deep architectural issues is a massive resource drain disguised as progress. It is the equivalent of a roof repairman who fixes a leak in your living room by drilling a new hole elsewhere in the ceiling and placing a bucket underneath it. Yes, the original spot is dry, but the structural integrity is compromised. Every localized fix injects further uncertainty into the code base. You are attempting an impossible task. It is like finishing a 10,000-piece puzzle without a blueprint, where every single piece changes its shape every second based on probabilistic generation. The expectation that iterative prompting can fix underlying structural decay is a trap. It trades human lifespan, developer sanity, and massive computational resources for the mere appearance of functionality.
I certainly acknowledge the risks of technical debt. No serious engineer would argue that AI code does not need rigorous testing. But we must look at the macro scale of what is happening in the market, beyond just the enterprise level. The sheer volume of amateur-built applications entering the ecosystem right now is unprecedented. Yes, many of them will be horribly flawed under the hood. Many of them will fail to scale. But volume inherently breeds innovation. Out of the millions of AI-generated applications built by individuals who previously had absolutely no access to software creation, a significant percentage are going to succeed. They will find product-market fit. They will secure funding. They will hire human engineers to refactor the codebase, and they will revolutionize the digital economy. The market acts as a filter. The successes will absolutely justify the localized failures and the technical debt incurred along the way.
The market is not a passive filter that gently sorts the good ideas from the bad. The market is a physical checkpoint with a harsh, unforgiving immune system, and it will violently reject these fragile outputs. As we established earlier, writing the initial code is only 10% of software development. The other 90% is comprised of security, scalability, edge case handling, state management, and legal compliance regarding user data. AI, in its current state, only accelerates that first 10%. It leaves the amateur developer completely unequipped to scale the massive bedrock of the remaining 90%. The market will instantly reject these applications because end users are not going to shoulder the risk of asset loss, data breaches, or time consumption caused by externalized bugs hiding in unreviewed AI code.
Strategies, those can all be learned. The amateur developer becomes a professional precisely through the act of deploying to the market and hitting those roadblocks. The AI-generated application serves as a starting point. It is a functional prototype that secures user interest and validates the core business logic before the deeper, more rigorous structural work is finalized by human hands. It gets you from 0 to 1.
It gets you from 0 to 1 using toxic materials. An amateur AI application is a skyscraper erected with a beautiful glass exterior, but absolutely no steel rebar inside the concrete. It cannot be easily retrofitted once it is built. It usually has to be torn down entirely. It is a meal that looks like it was plated by a 3-star Michelin chef, but is actually made of expired ingredients heavily masked by chemical seasonings. The moment the user consumes it, the internal damage begins. The modern software market demands continuous survival costs. You have ongoing updates, shifting API integrations, zero-day security patches. A system built on probabilistically generated intentionless code simply cannot adapt to external environmental shifts without breaking. The maintenance costs of trying to keep that 0 to 1 prototype alive in a production environment will immediately exceed any hypothetical profit. These applications will go straight to the digital graveyard, acting as nothing more than digital slum waste occupying expensive server space.
These applications will go straight to the digital graveyard, acting as nothing more than digital slum waste occupying expensive server space. You are assuming that the underlying AI models will not improve, which goes against everything we have seen over the past few years. The current state of generative AI is the worst it will ever be. We're looking at a snapshot in time, analyzing the flaws of early-stage tools. When we talk about context windows expanding, meaning the AI's short-term memory can process an entire massive codebase at once, rather than just a few isolated snippets, we already see a massive drop in those hallucinations you are worried about. The model can actually understand the abstract syntax tree. It can see how a change in one microservice affects a database schema in another. As the reasoning capabilities of these models mature, the need for that elite human surgeon to clean up the operating room will diminish, because the robotic assistant will finally achieve surgical precision. We are simply transitioning through a temporary phase of friction. Condemning the entire democratization of software development based on the growing pains of early adoption ignores the historical trajectory of all major technological shifts. We have always built abstractions on top of complex systems to make them easier to use.
Abstraction is one thing. Abdication of understanding is another. The era of digital throwaway culture is over.
The current obsession with explosive speed at the cost of stability is nothing but stacking heavy stones on top of a building with a completely rotten foundation. What we are seeing in the tech industry today is the exact equivalent of a diet advertisement that promotes endless binge eating without any consideration for the biological necessity of excretion or digestion. The existing system of thoughtless accumulation, superficial speed, and the externalization of technical bugs onto future developers is mathematically guaranteed to collapse under the weight of its own structural fragility. We are filling our critical infrastructure with logic that has no flesh, no intent, and no physical synchronization with reality, transitioning to a sustainable, circular development logic where human engineers must meticulously reconstruct AI-generated text into structurally sound, flesh and blood logic, and where the long-term survival costs of software are paid up front rather than pushed onto the end user, is no longer a philosophical choice. It is the only rational investment for the economic and civilizational survival of our industry.